but thank you. Okay, so it's Friday of our 5-day challenge, and I just want to welcome you and welcome our very special guest today, Jill McMahon. Jill, wave and say hello.
Hi, guys.
So we're going to pull Jill up in just a few minutes. What I want to do is just do some quick agenda planning and kind of set the role or the plan for today before we do that. And that'll let a couple more people filter in, because I don't want you guys to miss anything that Jill is going to share, because she's on an incredible journey and it's just beginning now. Yes, so we'll talk about that in just a second. And so, and I'm thrilled that Brian is here, because Brian has been through the one-page book plan workshop. And Jerry is here. Jerry Toomer is the one that one of our authors that connected Jill and I. So Jerry, thrilled that he is here. So, and then a lot of you have been here all week. So really quick recap, you've met several of our authors this week. You've met people at all stages of the journey. So you met on Monday, you met Deborah Boblet and Susie Pinkard, and both of them are executives who had retired from a corporate career and decided to launch their own coaching and speaking business. And so both of them are about a year or two into that process. And so you met people that are early in the planning or in the process. Then you got to meet Tammy, who is just starting to plan her book. So she is one step ahead of a lot of you. And we're working through her one-page book plan right now. Then you met Dina, who's had her book out since 2017. And she's, of course, one of our mindset coaches in the process. And so Dina helped or talked about mindset and her own author experience and how she continues to use her book like it's new. And then yesterday, you guys met Amy Carney, who also has had her book out for quite a while. Very different agenda, and you got to learn how she's using her book and her and all of her skills to make money, and her different offers that she does. And today, you get to meet Jill. And Jill is also in Scottsdale, like all of our other authors. So all of this is leading up to our one-page book plan. Maybe Nadia or Kimberly, if somebody could drop that in the link, so if anybody's curious. But we've got a one-page book plan workshop that we're getting ready to do in Scottsdale. There's also a virtual option. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But there's a virtual option happening next week. But we're doing it in Scottsdale because all the women you've met this week are going to be there live, and Ed Rush, our author of God Talks. So hopefully those of you that can make it are going to come join us on September 27th, and you get to meet these incredible people in person, plus our own team. So quick shout out. I think most of them are off camera right now, but Nadia and Kimberly and Kim are all on here with us. Maybe Joy too, I'm not sure. But okay, with that, let's do some quick takeaways for the people who missed some of the earlier days. Brian wasn't here, Jerry wasn't here. Anybody want to share what you guys have learned this week and what you're most excited about so far? Jim's up, man. You unmute fast.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm unmuted, right? Okay. Yeah. My older brother, he became a neurologist, and he used to study the whole book before he started class. In the summer, he'd buy all his college books and read them. So the classes were just a review. Amazing, smart person. But so that's what I want to do with this. And I've taken copious notes on this. I'm gonna go over it all. I'm gonna have the whole thing done before I show up in Scottsdale, and just have it be a review to really put it in there. I'm excited.
And great analogy. Yeah. All right. Kudos to your brother. Marilyn.
I just want to say my biggest takeaway is watching my father-in-law come so alive in this dream. So thank you, Nicole. It's been absolutely wonderful to see this dream become so much of a reality, and easy and lightweight, which is exciting. So, and then I have many, many takeaways, and I've shared them all week long, but absolutely floored. I think it's easy to write a book now, when I thought there's no way I'm going to write one paragraph. I even got my processes down as my step process, not down. I got things working, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So thanks. Yeah, I think I might be the same thing. I might have a book written before we get to Scottsdale.
Cool. Well, we'll just take it to the next level. Anybody else want to share? I know Jill loves hearing from you guys too. Karen, welcome back, Karen. Good to see you.
Okay, I have a lot of takeaways too, and it's hard just to select a few, but I'll do that. Number one, learned that people pay for solution. Everyone has trauma. We all have trauma. We all have things that happen to us. And so that was huge for me. that piece. So I need a solution, not just the trauma piece. And so that was very helpful. And, you know, it was amazing to know that there are people like Dina out there that can help you work through things that you might need to work through before you can even get to the process of understanding what you have to, or what you're called to write about. Because, like, God's not sitting in front of us, and I really wish he was, but he's not. So.
Well, Dina was my own coach when I needed it. And we talked about with Dina spinning, like she'd say, Nicole, you're spinning again. Because I would kind of get stuck in indecision. And so, yeah, that's how I found Dina. And yeah, she's incredibly helpful. So thanks for sharing. Olive.
Hi.
Hi.
So the other day I shared about my book, and I've got to say I was just on the edge of saying, okay, this isn't for me. But you ladies encouraged me so much that I came out of the meeting just, you know, I was almost dancing. And then when my husband saw the change, you know, that I was really getting involved in this and so excited about it. And so we're going to Scottsdale.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Olive, and yeah, your book's important. Kim and I, we went down, remember, I told everybody we were going to Matt's book launch party in Indianapolis last night. And so we traveled down together and we were talking about you and your book and how important it is. And I'd look for it in a heartbeat if I had similar situation in life. So thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Annie does. I was wondering if you're going to talk, Annie. Morning.
I always have to
Afternoon.
watch myself because I tend to be that way. So I'm like, no, don't hog it. But I was talking with my daughter about this last night, that what I noticed as the days have gone, I keep getting ideas and I keep getting ideas. And it's what your group, your team, you've put together, what you carry. Because like some of the stuff that I've gotten ideas for are completely unrelated, but the ideas just keep coming. So I call it in my world an anointing, but there's an anointing on your team for ideas to be birthed. And so that was a huge takeaway for me, that this is a very important group. What y'all do, you mattered. Every story, when people were sharing, I could see your hearts connecting and saying you have value. This story has value. And it just reminds me, because all our stories do matter. So I just am very, 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 very grateful to be part of this journey.
And
And
Annie,
I received that, man. Thank you, Lisa.
I would agree with what Annie just said. There is an anointing on your team and ideas are being birthed. As a matter of fact, Annie just teed me up really well. I woke up at 3:30 this morning. I was so annoyed. I'm like, ugh, it's 3:30. So I actually put on one of the God Talks instrumentals and I thought, I'll just go right back to sleep. Oh no, I got a download for an entire business strategy, a website, a plan, 8 modules, 3 different, like, I got a download for, now I know what my book's going to be about and everything at 3:30 this morning. Clarity.
Man.
And I've learned, and I've spent my life in this, I've learned more on this call in 5 days than I can't even tell you how helpful it's been, because I'm launching a business. I'm not just, you know, like, right. I have to figure out what I want to do and where I want to go and all of that. So that makes it hard since I'm trying to figure that out. And so anyway, like, I got it at 3:30 this morning.
Wow. That's
It's cool.
incredible.
I
Yeah.
know.
I once heard one of my favorite pastors was talking about, why does God give you ideas at, 3:30 in the morning? And,
Oh.
and yeah, and it's because it's the only time you can actually get you're to quiet enough.
I did. I got up out of bed and I came into my office. I made a cup of decaf. I drink decaf coffee. I had my decaf coffee. Actually, I had 3 cups because it was 2.5 hours of a download. And I just sat here and journaled and wrote. And like, this morning I got up and went to GoDaddy. I bought my website. So yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. That is really cool,
Me
Lisa.
too. I can't wait for Scottsdale.
All right. Marilyn, what you got? What's happening in your life this week?
This is amazing. I feel like I'm in the convergence zone. I've been looking for since 2019, I've been asking God to show me what I don't know that I need to know, and then show me what to do. And so he's led me from one thing to the next to the next. I had a lot of mindset problems, okay? And yes, I've been running a nonprofit and all this kind of stuff, but he is speaking to me about my own thing, okay? And so I'm on the process of I'm like I've got stuff in place, but not all together. And I just hired my first person who I offered, well, hey, why don't you come to help me? And she goes, I want to do it too. So I recruited her to come here because she wants it. She's actually going to launch her own business too, because we're both similar in that fashion. Some people that you hire, they just want to work for you. Other people actually want to do a business. And so that's where I'm at, is I'm on the convergent zone, and then I have somebody who understands, and I kind of understand her because we've worked together in Haiti and stuff. So I'm just so excited that you put it together, and I feel like it's a safe place where the things that I lack, like you might not have everything, but your team, when you put it all together, that's the convergent zone. So thank you.
Yeah.
Nicole, can we talk about Vanita for a second?
Please.
I love every single person that has shared. Marilyn, it was gorgeous. I mean, every single person that's like had this epiphany and shared something beautiful that they've received this week. Vanita is over there like hands in the air cheering, and she's smiling, and she's doing, like, we all need a little Vanita in our life. Ladies and gentlemen, I've known you for all of 20 minutes and I love you already, but I'm like, I need a little Vanita in my life, because every time one of you shares a beautiful, Lisa, I love your night last night. Like, girl, that's real stuff. Like, that's incredible. But Vanita's over there.
She's been like that all week, by the way. She's been on these calls cheering silently.
I love this group. Anyway, I just had to call that out. It's amazing. The camaraderie is pretty cool.
Yeah. Vanita, did you want to comment? Are you willing to talk? You've been quiet all week.
I think that's her role.
Yeah, I haven't been attending all week because there's lots of complications with the communication from your team to my team, to me. Anyway, that's being resolved. But I miss all the things. I'm trying to listen to the recordings, but they're not the same as being here. Being here, you just get pumped up and just praising and thanking the Lord for what He's doing in our lives. And I so love this. I still have a ways to go, but I just love it. I'm looking forward to Scottsdale. So I'll see you beautiful ladies in Scottsdale.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Jim has to comment on that.
Are you hearing the cry for all of us authors to intersect with each other? I know you guys need to protect yourself so you're not inundated by everybody wanting to talk to you, but we need to talk to each other. Some of these authors, the things they said, I want to talk to them. So I'm hoping that during the lunchtime or something, there's some sort of a place, a room, the lobby or something where we can hang out until we fall asleep. Just thought.
There is, yes, which is, and we'll talk about how we do that when you become a client as well. So yes, Jim, thank you. Because as you can see, and I think you've probably seen it all week, we are very close knit as a team and with our clients as friends. Like we bring in people we want to work with and hang out with, and because we get very close to you, your project, your mission, and all the things. And I can't think of a better way just to introduce Jill. And let's talk about Jill's journey. So I'm going to spotlight Jill and then me, and let's just jump right into it. And then we'll do what we're going to do is we'll do Q&A after this. We can talk about the workshop. We can and Jill. I think Jill. It's a big weekend for Jill. Tell them what you're doing this weekend, because she's joining us from a hotel room very kindly from a very big day.
I am in Boulder, Colorado as we speak.
Ooh.
I just got to my hotel room like 40 minutes ago, you guys. I did not look like this. I just want you to know I looked like an alien, but I'm moving my daughter into college. She's a junior, but she's moving into a house. And so we drove in late last night. We drove up to Boulder this morning. I just put an IKEA bed together. So if you think that you can't write a book, I'm going to argue you try to put an IKEA bed together. That's what I'm saying. And then I hopped over to my hotel room so I could be with you guys.
Oh, which is such an
Thank
incredible,
you.
this is a big, big day. So thank you very much. It's also a very big month for Jill. So what's the official date? October or August 26, 27? What's
August
your
3rd, August 3rd. No, not
no?
August 3rd. No. September 3rd is the
Okay.
official release date. August 27th is my sneak peek release date.
All right. So here's the book. I only have my print proof. So this little gray bar says not for resale because it's the print proof. I only have a print proof copy. I don't have the official one. Do you have the official one yet? Have you seen the official one? Okay. Mine's coming. It's probably in the mailbox as we speak. But Jill's book is bulletproof. Look at this sucker. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about is when Jill started this process, and we'll back up where you were in your career and in your life, but you're like, I want to have a book, but I think I want a ghostwriter.
Correct.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to write it. You were pretty adamant, I don't want to write it. And
Yeah.
then you not only wrote it, you crushed it. Like, and you had fun, admit it. So tell us a little bit about your journey, would you?
I love how Nicole says, you had fun, admit it. I'll say, I just have to say to everybody on the Zoom call that it's really feels awkward for me to be on this side of the lens, because I actually think that I should be a tile with you guys right now, because I really feel like I just started this process a few months ago. And in all honesty, it was a year ago this month. And you guys, I have a book. Like, that's crazy. It is interesting. As I was listening to you before, I'm like, but wait, I am them. I don't feel yet like I have any right to sit here, but I have a book. Like, it's complete. And I have spent the last couple weeks calling everybody I know. And yes, I do have the official copy, Nicole. I'm in Colorado handing it out to my family members so that they get a copy before it goes live to the rest of the world. And as Nicole said, I will just share. Yes, I had a whole bunch of apprehensions, and we can talk about that later if we want to. You know, I don't know if I would have ever said that I was a person who was going to be capable of writing a book. I am a mental health professional, so I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've worked in grief and trauma for over 20 years. I specialize in all sorts of darkness and deep sadness, and that's what I love. In all honesty, that's my happy place. I love sitting. It sounds bizarre, but I enjoy sitting next to people and helping them as much as I can through their darkest moments.
God in the heart, Lord.
But when I decided to kind of close that chapter, I'm not sure that I thought a book was where I was going to go, because I didn't feel that I was author quality. And so Jerry Toomer is on this call. Jerry is a friend of mine from my coffee shop. I live in Scottsdale. We see each other at the coffee shop all the time. I'm pretty social. Jerry's pretty social. We would just chit chat. And one day Jerry said, Jill, I knew that Jerry had written some books, and he's like, I think you need to write a book. Have you ever considered writing a book? Let me introduce you to my friend, Nicole. And Jerry's somewhat of a mentor for me. And so I looked at him and I was like, you're crazy, buddy. Like, I know that I'm all sorts of things, but I just don't think that I'm capable. And so he kind of gave me the nudge, and 12 months later, here I am. I keep pinching myself. Like, how did this happen?
And Jerry was at the book launch party. So Jerry lives winters in Scottsdale and summers here in Indiana. And so he was at the book launch party because he also introduced Matt Dickerson to us. And this is where we were last night. And we were talking about how ridiculously proud of your book you are.
I am.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good.
You know what? I have no qualms about my age. I just turned 53. I am 53 years old, and never in my entire lifetime did I think that I was going to write a book. And for those of you that are on the call, and I was on Monday's call. So I got to hear a little bit of people's stories back then. And thank you, Jerry. And I just listening to you guys chit chat and connect with each other today. I love your energy. I love whatever has happened here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday when I was in a car driving across the country and not able to try to listen in. You guys have really built this energy and this drive. And I had that internally. I just didn't know what to do with it. And so I think that's why I'm so proud. I loved my career, which was sitting with friends and family members after they had lost a loved one to suicide. That is my specialty. That's what I do. And as I said, like, I loved that. But when it was time to close my doors, I had a separate, I'm not going to use the word passion because I think passion is kind of overused, but I had a second purpose that had been sitting deep in my belly for a very, very, very long time. And as Nicole shared about the title of the book is written for gun violence survivors. So I am a gun violence survivor myself. I mean, that's not a big surprise. It's right on the back cover of the book. I was very young. I was 6 years old. It was a different time. As I just said, I was 53. So do the math on that, crew. It was in the 70s. The landscape of gun violence looks very different in this country right now. Media looks different. You know, it's in our face all the time. It's big. But I didn't know what to do with my purpose around that, right? So I knew from a young age that there was something that I wanted to do in the field of, or in line of, creating healing or creating hope for gun violence survivors. But I will tell you, as I'm sure many of you have run into obstacles, or maybe you are your own obstacle, as I was personally, culture was not inviting me in the 90s, in the 2000s, and the 2010s to live out that purpose, right? I had tried many different ways, and I'm curious how many people, I mean, raise of hands, how many people on this call have taken that one thing that they're passionate about or they feel purposeful about, and they've tried to do something with, and then they feel like they failed. Thank you. That stopped me. So that was my boulder in the road. That was the obstacle. You know, without going into my whole story, because we have a limited period of time here, I will tell you, I attempted 10 or 15 years ago to go the political route. I attempted to create change that way. And I'm not a person who doesn't know people. So, I mean, I called the people I knew. I'm not a person who's afraid to make an ask, or who's afraid to, you know, call up a congressman. I actually probably wouldn't call up a congressman, but you know, I might try to do something like that, and all backs were turned. And so, in all honesty, you guys, I felt very despondent and hopeless, and had I am the therapist who had my own therapy sessions over not knowing what to do with this purpose, right? I had this purpose. I'd felt it for years, and I suspect that you guys wouldn't be on this call if you didn't feel that you had a similar purpose. I just didn't know how to package it in a way that other people would receive it, but I knew that what I had to share could make a difference or be helpful. And I will tell you, I don't think I figured all of that out until Jerry gave me the nudge, and then I was still a little hesitant. I was a little like, oh yeah, good luck to Nicole. Let's see how she's going to help me package this, because the world isn't really inviting it. And after my first call with Nicole, and she's like, Jill, we got you. You can do this. And then I said, okay, maybe I can do it, but I can't write. I have a lot of things to say. I just don't say them eloquently. My spelling is atrocious. I cannot write. Nicole, we'll do this with a ghostwriter. And she was like, okay.
You're going to write your own
And then
book.
she just asked me to trust the process, right? Nicole, you're like, just trust the process. Like, let's get a couple feet into the river, and then you tell me if you want a ghostwriter. And here we are. Was that too much, Nicole? What,
Oh,
what else do you want me to elaborate on there?
talk about like in the process, it's the outline. Like at what point during the outlining did you realize that you would want to and could write this? Because that's the secret.
That is the secret. And I, as I was writing little notes, as soon as I got to my hotel and changed out of my sweaty, stinky clothes, I thought to myself, it was all about the very deliberate process. So it sounds to me, again, just from listening in this afternoon, that you guys have already figured out that niche has a very fine-tuned, deliberate process. And that made all the difference for me. I really would have felt like I was doggy paddling in a pool without knowing which direction to go, without that outline to follow. Truth be told, that, there might have been the first 4 or 5 months, a couple days where I might have wanted to punch Nicole.
Then we're doing it right. Yeah.
Or because I was being pushed what I thought was beyond my limits. And so, when you said earlier about how ridiculously proud I am of the book, it's the amount of eternal growth that I have accomplished in the last 12 months of proving to myself that I really am capable. And I heard some of you waking up in the middle of the night, having epiphanies after last night's call. Like, it's just that I didn't have this. So there wasn't, or at least I wasn't a part of a 5-day challenge in advance, right? So I didn't have that opportunity for things to bubble. And I did that the first couple months, and the outline was key. It was key. It's once I started painstakingly developing the outline and then switching it up again and then moving my chapters around, and it was laid out everywhere. So my outline was on note cards without saying much more, and it was laid out everywhere. It was on my office floor. It was on my kitchen table. Then I moved to the dining room table. Then, oh my goodness, I was going on a trip. Then I'd have to fold it all together, wrap it all up, take it with me, lay it all out again. And once I realized that I can complete the outline, then Miss Nicole, I didn't want anybody else to touch it. Then I realized that those were my thoughts and my cards, and I worked really hard to get them in exactly the order that I thought I wanted. And so the idea of turning that over to a ghostwriter and feeling like I might lose my tone in the message was when I was like, oh my goodness, if I've come this far, I can do it. I can do it. And you set me up with some incredible editors. That was a valuable, I mean, for anybody listening who's going to go forward with this process, again, the program is key, right? Follow their lead, attempt not to miss a deadline. If you miss a deadline or think you're going to miss a deadline, here's the therapist hat on. Ask yourself why it is that you're missing the deadline. Are you stalling? Are you fearful? What's getting in your way? Push yourself a little harder than you thought you were capable of. And the next process after I created that outline was to another kumbaya with Nicole, and Nicole to say, Jill, how do you feel about that ghostwriter?
Yeah.
Right?
You do remember
And then
that.
you connected me with some beautiful editors, and we were off from there. It was off. I mean, once I was paired with editors that I love still to this day, like I wish they lived next door to me, and they don't. And I know I can't have that relationship with them, but they understood the book.
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah.
just blossomed.
Yeah. We have an incredible team.
Yeah,
I
really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Anointed team. I really receive that and appreciate that. That's really cool. You open with a fantastic story that I didn't know about from the outline days, that at least that I recall, because when I was reading the book, I love the opening. Do you want to talk about working with Michael Haig?
Oh, yes, I do, girl. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think if we all would have gotten off of this call, have they had exposure to Michael yet?
No, they don't know. They
Oh,
need to-
fun. If we would have gotten off this call today and I didn't mention Michael, that would have been remiss, and I would have kicked myself later. Michael Haig, do they know who he is? Can I,
Oh, yeah,
Would-
no,
would-
you want to go ahead.
I'm gonna let you introduce Michael and then I'll.
So
Thanks.
yeah, so Michael Haig, I met Michael Haig actually at Ed Rush's mastermind, since so many people on here know Ed. And Ed brought him in as a special guest back in January of 2019 as a secret guest. And as soon as I met him, I had an instant connection, and I knew I had to meet with this guy. And so we developed a friendship, and then I started bringing him in saying, would you coach some of our clients? And he has since become just part of our process. He's become a very dear friend of mine. My daughter went out with me to meet him, and now he's coming to her wedding next May. Like, we're friends. It's been very fun. But he is a Hollywood storytelling expert. He worked with Will Smith in his home for 7 years. If you guys know who Russell Brunson is, Russell runs ClickFunnels, which is $1 billion software company. Russell built his framework for how he does everything on his coaching from Michael Haig. So he's just a brilliant guy, but so humble and so sweet, and just all he wants to do is talk story. So there we go.
So he's a part of the team. He's a part of the process. And he was for me, he was the first stop on the process, right? Jill, start writing your outline, some meetings with Nicole. And then for me, I met with Michael. And of course I researched him in advance, ladies. I mean, and gentlemen, Nicole told me a little bit about him, but I had to check him out. And I'm like, wow, this guy's the real deal. Like, he's very interesting. And what he did for me, I will say, is turned that doubt from I'm incapable of writing something that people would want to read. I'm incapable of writing something that's engaging and fluid and an attention getter. And I don't want to write a book that's just statistics. The world is filled with that on this topic. The world is filled with that, and that doesn't meet my purpose. And how can it took 1 or 2 sessions with Michael to create my first story for the book. So I started the first chapter of the book with a story about the day that I brought my son home from the hospital. So I think I'd mentioned to everybody on this call that I'm a gun violence survivor. When I was 6 years old, my mom and I were carjacked from a mall by some gentlemen who were parked a couple parking spaces away. They had a flat tire, which we later found out that they had flattened themselves, and had asked my mom to take them to their friend's house down the road. So there's more to that story, but that's how my first experience with guns or gun violence occurred. And fast forward to being 27 years old, I'm going to let you know where I lived at the time. It would be Littleton, Colorado, which is why I'm in Colorado now. My entire family's in Colorado. I was born and raised in Colorado. And the day that I brought the day that I brought my son, my first newborn baby, home from the hospital, as I was leaving the hospital, so fearful that I was not capable of keeping this child breathing. And in the 4-minute drive from the hospital bay to my garage, he was going to turn purple, or that my husband was going to, take a crazy turn. And who knows, all of that new parent anxiety, I didn't realize that ambulances were going in the opposite direction of us. And it wasn't until I got home and my neighborhood was in a bit of frenzy, and there were teenagers in my front lawn asking if they could come in and use our telephone. And I didn't understand what was happening. Well, I lived 4 miles from Columbine High School. So on the day that I was bringing my precious life, I was scared to death home from the hospital. There were a dozen children that were either losing their lives, or that's families where lives were changed forever. So, like I said, I've had some type of purpose here for quite some time. And that's how I opened the book. And that was Michael. So in my work with Michael, whom was the first team member after Nicole that I worked with through this entire process, he said, well, where do you want to start? Like, pick a story. So I gave him 3, and he looked through those and he's like, okay, so which one do you want to develop? And I was like, no, see, you're supposed to tell me. Like, you tell me, and then I'll give you an outline, and then you make it into a pretty story, and then you return it to me. Isn't this how this is supposed to work? Come on, guys. And he's like, okay, so nope, you tell me which one of those. And I go, well, I probably have the most content for the Columbine story. And he's like, okay, well, let's do that. And so even though I only met with him twice, there was a fair amount of back and forth. It was almost like I was a graduate student again. Like I would write a story, I would send it to him, he would redline. And you guys, as I said before, remember at this stage in my writing journey, I still believe that I'm incapable and that I need a ghostwriter, and I just need to get through this phase so that the ghostwriter can come in and just take over, right? But it was with my work with Michael that I gained a lot more confidence, because when we were finished with that story, I was so proud of it. And I will tell you the difference of what I started with was 1 page, all outlined. Each paragraph was like 2 sentences. There were no real descriptors in there, you know, and then what I ended up with Michael was probably a 5-page, takes the reader, you know, that reader is sitting in that car on the way home from the hospital to my house. That reader understands my anxiety. That reader, so he's very skilled, and you can tell he has done this thousands of times. It is so natural for him. When you watch, it's just churning in there. It's just you talking, he's just, he's listening and he's taking notes. Like, okay, he knows how to develop a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yes, he does. And I think what people don't realize is the value of everything in this process, including Michael Haig, is that these skills now translate. Like you're about to step out into the media, into the spotlight, on podcasts, on stages, and you know how to articulate your stories and your messages.
Absolutely. I see it differently. I mean, I'll never be able to do it the way that Michael does it, but I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where I was July of 2023 in understanding what grabs people's attention, right? While being genuine and honest and true to my story and true to myself. He's just so such a great role model for, and he has years and years of experience in storytelling. So he understands, how do I say this without sounding cheeky? He understands what sells. So and by sells, I just want people to grasp on to the concept that I'm writing about, right? I want people to be inquisitive. I want people to ask more questions. And he understands how to phrase that or how to present that so that people will be inquisitive and want to know more, right? Because oftentimes when we are selling one of our own ideas, we undersell it, right? We understand it up here. So it makes perfect sense to us. And why belabor it? And why talk about it too much? That's boring. So I'm just going to put this thought in 4 sentences. Like, it's black and white. But it's like sand. Black and white when you're storytelling is like sand. It's boring. You don't want to eat it. You're going to spit it out. It's, oh, let's move past that. You know, if working with Michael gave me a juicy cheeseburger. I just came up with that. It was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, Michael's watching. Michael, he's gonna watch this because I'm gonna call him after and go, man, he's
juicy
on
cheeseburger.
He is on his.
He gave me more confidence to tell my story in a way that people will actually hear it.
Yeah. Well, and why that's important. And a lot of people don't plan to include stories, or they underestimate the power of a story in a book, right?
Oh.
And the thing is, we make decisions based on emotions, and you need to know how to tell your story with emotion to help people make important decisions. And yeah, it's not just the facts of your story. I mean, how many of you today now understand why Jill is absolutely passionate about her whole career from the 2 incidents that she just talked about? Right. And it shows through. It shows through. Your heart shows through and all that. So one other person I want to give a shout out who hasn't gotten a lot of credit this week is Kim Han. And so Kim's on the call. She doesn't have her camera on at the moment, but I know she's there. You want to talk about Kim?
I call Kim my right hand. That's what she is. Kim's my right hand. And I know she's yours in many ways. So Kim is the individual, you guys, that you just, if you have a quick question, hi Kim, there she is, her cute little tan face. if you have something that, you know, you think like, oh, I'm not sure I'm doing this right, or am I missing something? Or it's like she knows the ins and outs. It's like she's the wizard behind the curtain a little bit, I think. And she's the person you just shoot a quick email to. And she gets back to you, and she'll either go like, Jill, Jim, Marilyn, you're getting ahead of yourself. Like she'll tell you, like, we're going to get there. I promise. Like, this is a finely tuned linear process. And you in your excitement and or anxiety are already thinking about something that we have worked out 3 months down the road. So don't worry about 3 months down the road. Right now, I just need you to finish August 16th. Right. So she really is a great right hand. It's the best way. And Nicole, I'm so glad that you include that. And for me, I can tell you, I'm very thankful that you included Kim in the process, because it just brought my anxiety down. Yeah, she's been a beautiful just wealth of knowledge along the entire journey.
Hold on. I'm going to spotlight her. We need to add her. There she is. Sorry, Kim. I should have spotlighted you a second ago.
Well, that's all right.
Kim is known among us. It's actually, someone else gave her this title, and as soon as they said it, it just, everything about the value that she adds to our team came clear, which is she is the emotional intelligence of our group. That is her gifting. And yeah, to be able to read a client and see what you're struggling and where resistance is showing up, where things are showing up and why, and pulling you back. Kim, that's your favorite part of this. You want to talk?
It is. It is. I love my job because I get to work with all of these amazing people who I get to hang out with, mostly virtually. You know, we got to meet Matt. It was funny. We went to the book party last night. It was the first time I'd met Matt face to face. And so that was fun. But I really enjoy helping everyone. Jill just put it so well. You know, the people that we work with have an expertise. They have a story. They have a mission. They have a movement. They have something inside of them, and we help them make it real and let it come out and change the world. And so it's super fun to be a part of that. And I love to help. So yeah.
Yeah, no, the book party, Roseanne asked, we had a book party in Indianapolis. So actually our whole team is in Lafayette, Indiana, which is an hour outside of Indy, 2 from Chicago, home of Purdue. So go Boilers. Our team's all Boilers fans. And so, but we have 8 authors in Scottsdale. So that's why we're doing the workshop in Scottsdale. We have actually a big collection of authors, but we have them all across the US, but we have a collection in Scottsdale, unusually, and a collection in Indianapolis. So we decided we wanted to go somewhere fun and be with some people that we love and admire. And so we're going to do the workshop in Scottsdale. Kim, what was I was just going to ask you something else about that, but, oh, and yesterday I said Kim had been with us for 5 years. Actually, I think it's September, it'll be 6. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. That's why I joked with Amy Carney. I would take better care of her now because I've learned so much. You know, publishing a book is really different than just about anything else. And there are a lot of ins and outs, and the ins and outs change. And some things are eternal, you know, the inner journey of the author and how hard it is to step out in authenticity. You know, that can be hard. But a lot of the details working with the publishing platforms and, you know, just all of that stuff that you pay us to help you with, so you don't have to figure out this business. I find it fascinating and I love doing it. So it's fun. It's fun to work at something that you love to do. So
yeah, thanks. And to give Kim more support so she's able to do what she's great at, we just brought in Joy as our newest team member to be Kim's personal assistant. I have Kimberly, and then Nadia runs the whole system on the back end. So Kim, thank you at the lake.
Yeah.
So thank you. I will chime in here. Jill's giving you the bow. Anything else you want to say? I was going to go ahead and just bring the crowd back up and let them ask questions.
I think, you know, from my end, if I have, as somebody who, again, doesn't think that I should be on this end of the screen, it just feels like I should be a tile sitting on a couch with everybody else, maybe sipping some coffee. It's an investment. but I would really implore you to invest in yourselves, because it is an incredible, frustrating at moments. I'm not going to candy coat anything. It's a hard work. I mean, we're not proud of anything that isn't isn't hard. So but it is an incredible transformative process that leaves a legacy. Whatever it is that you want to share, you're going to leave a legacy. And so I think, I am so happy that I decided to invest in myself, because in all honesty, as I think I've written in the book, my kids are so bored of listening to me talk. I'm a therapist. Their mom's a therapist. God bless those children. Like, they're so sick of my advice. But as I left in the book, and I don't even know if they know when the book's coming out. It doesn't really matter to me if they know when the book's coming out. But as I said, like, all I've ever wanted is for them to be proud of the work that I do. And so this book is a legacy of that. And everything that you guys are passionate about or purposeful about enough to sit in this room for 5 days is a legacy to those that are in your life. And it's a legacy to yourself more than anything. So that's it. Thanks for
Nice.
letting me speak today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get questions, I'm sure. The book is bulletproof, and it's coming out on September 3rd. So, for Jill, or for any book or any author that you have seen on this group or anywhere, the best way you can support an author is to write a review on Amazon. Buy their book and write a review. Reviews are much harder to get than they used to be. And a lot of people are intimidated because they read a book that's so well written and so well edited. Remember, they're also been, edited, because we're all imperfect and we have wonderful editors that help us. And so people get intimidated, like, I'm not qualified to write a review. But the best way you can help any author spread their message and their ideas is to leave them a review. So if you haven't done that for Ed's book, or for any of the people's books that you love and refer to often, that's a great gift to those people to support them. So, all right. Questions or takeaways from Jill? Jim, please.
There we go. I mean, okay. Jill, my wife's a counselor. She has been for 30 years. She handles
Yay.
the deep, dark, awful stuff. And she'll work with someone for 2 years. So
Yeah.
it's like your bulletproof would be helpful for her when she runs into these kind of things.
Great.
Just unbelievable stuff that people go
Yeah.
through. Satanic ritual abuse and
Yeah.
dark, horrible stuff. But she works with them. So, gosh, I wish you two could talk together. Are you going to be in Scottsdale?
I am going to be in Scottsdale. So please, 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 Jim, introduce me to her. And I will say kudos and hats off to you, because it's not easy to be the partner of a therapist. It's really not. We either come home and shut down because we can't begin to verbalize what it is that we've heard, or, sometimes our moods are all over the place. You never know. It's a big tank that we possess, but when it gets full, it's full. So thanks for
Thanks. Yeah,
supporting her.
yeah, it takes a while to understand her. Her daughter said, the daughter says, Mom, you like to watch movies that are happy, sappy, and clappy. And she says, after what I listen to all morning, I need it.
I get it. I get it.
Thank you.
I'd love to meet her. So please introduce
All right,
yourself.
hopefully we can. All right, thank you.
Awesome.
Roseanne. Hi. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I am grateful that I remembered, even though I'm late to the party. Is there a replay? Because I think that any minute I miss with Jill is a minute I've lost. So I'm so glad I tuned in
Thank you.
because I already have invested in 2 other expensive things. And I was like, how do I fit this in? Not the right time, another time. I don't know who your Michael Haig is, but I got down a virtual rabbit hole of an illustrator who's kind of fascinating named Michael Haig, but I don't think it's the one you're talking about. And so I'd love to know that. And I'd love to know how I can support you, because I'm here in Phoenix. And the real
Yay.
question is, I want to understand this offering, because I want to go through that process with Michael, because how you explain that, I've got 30 years of matchmaking stories that are like insane, where they said je t'aime the night after, the morning after they met. And I'm like, after 2 weeks, I'm like, they look so dang tired. I'm like, you kids need to get some sleep. And they're getting married in Cabo in October. Yeah, I mean, and I've got a million stories. And I was just told on a LinkedIn mastermind right before this that I need to craft my stories, because they're each one of them amazing. And I can tell it, but the way you talked about the feeling of coming home from, that's what I need the expert on to help me build that muscle, that story muscle. There's a million storytelling, experts, Donald Miller, etc. But to sit down with somebody through something like this, plus I love Will Smith, because I was on earlier in the week when it was mentioned he worked with them on storytelling. And I think that they are very smart branding people. And if he's the guy they wanted, and you got him, how do I get him? Tell me.
Yeah. Jill, do you want to comment on that? I'll put his website link in here, but go ahead.
You're reading the room correctly, my dear. You're 100% reading the room correctly. He's not going to do it for you. I mean, that's important to know, but he is just, the wisdom oozes out of him, and you can tell that's his primary brain. Storytelling is his primary brain. Like communicating like you and I do is a secondary brain. So I love that, although he's very easy to chat with and get along with. I mean, he's kind of, I called him at the time like the grandfather of storytelling. He's like, you kind of want to hang out with him and have a beer maybe. And you're spot on with what you're feeling. And just email me, JillMcMahonCounseling.com, any of you, and we can chat at any time. I'm happy to answer questions. Roseanne, if you want to get together for coffee, because you're in my hood, so we can do that.
I'm your girl. I will drop.
Awesome.
Yeah, or you can hike with me, and then we have coffee.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting,
I'm on
it's
my
getting deep, guys.
my bike desk, and so I'm in total fit mode. But I also, I'm drinking my bulletproof coffee. Ding, 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 ding. And so I am fully in support of anything bulletproof. And how can I support you with your book launch?
Thank you.
I want to know what the program offerings are after you. Oh, do you live here, or do you live in Colorado?
No, I live in Scottsdale. I have a private practice in Scottsdale, actually. Yeah.
So easy.
I know. And I'm a fitness instructor on the side. So there you go.
And she roasts coffee.
And I roast coffee at the coffee shop where I met Jerry. So you can see I'm a girl who likes to have my toes in a little bit of everything. But this endeavor, I will say, with the book is probably one of the biggest things I've ever done. I don't know how to, biggest isn't really the right term, but what I will say is I love my profession. I love what I've done. I feel like it has been an honor. I'm proud of what I've done, but graduate school was not easy for me. I thought that was a big accomplishment, but completing the book is probably one of the bigger accomplishments I've ever made. And that is not to pat myself on the back. I hope that I'm being clear. That's not what that message is about. We are still capable at any age of making ourselves proud and feeling like we can make a difference. And whatever your life looked like in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, awesome sauce. Maybe it's completely awesome now. But you never know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this book, you guys. I have no idea. I know what I want to do with this book, but it's not out yet.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't you tell us all? What do you want to do with it?
Well, a little bit of the book is written, most of the book is written for the survivor to give them hope in their healing. A small portion of each book is written for their caregivers, how difficult it is to be the family member of somebody that has gone through a gun violence episode. And another portion of the book is written for young mental health professionals and how to best help this population heal. So I would love to see this book in universities. I would love to speak. I'm not afraid to speak publicly, as you guys can probably tell. I would love to speak publicly anywhere and everywhere about, how we can best help this population. So yeah, I want the word, we focus so much when we hear about a gun violence episode, when we hear about, the first thing we focus on when the media reports is politics. And as much as I understand that, where does that leave the victim or the victim's family? So there's this whole population that's kind of like pushed to the side a little bit in the shadows. And unfortunately, in our culture, that population is growing daily.
Where's
And
your book signing here, honey?
I don't have one because I don't want one.
Oh, that seems
I know,
like
but that's okay. I will meet you. You and I are going to chit chat, but
You're
I think
gonna
I'm going to
love
get the book
my
out
friend.
different ways. I'm going to get the book out. I'm not afraid of not.
I'm going to a Women Empower Her event on the 31st, plus a Transcendence event between now and then. That's all here in Scottsdale. So maybe you should meet me this weekend.
I'm in Boulder.
Oh, well.
I
just-
am speaking at a women's event in Scottsdale on November 1st.
Okay.
FYI.
All right, you two need to connect.
Yeah, we'll chit chat later. Other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you,
So,
Roseanne.
so Roseanne, you missed the beginning. She's in Boulder moving her daughter into college. So that's
Oh,
why
I
she's in this week.
I
So-
just talked to another mastermind to a girl moving her child into ASU. You gonna pitch your program again before we finish the call?
Yep. So
Please.
I just put a link in the chat again. So we're at the end of the hour and I'm going to go into Q&A in just a minute. We'll do a couple more questions for Jill first. I just want to remind you, the Scottsdale event is September 27th. There is a virtual option if you can't be at the Scottsdale live event. There's a virtual option that starts next week. We actually kick it off with the pre-meeting on Monday. So you do want to decide if you're not going to Scottsdale, you need to get into the virtual one and we kick off Monday. And actually, Vanita, if you'll hold a second, Brian, you want to talk about it? You did the virtual workshop with us. I'm going to spotlight you, brother, here, bringing you up. Jill, I hope that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Spotlight for everyone. There you go.
Hey there. Wow, I did a better camera. I have the book, I have it right here. So it's coming back off and on, but anyway, I'm in kind of a strange place right now because I'm in a transition. I got laid off in April and I knew I had a book to write. And I've got something else going on in October, and that's an awesome thing. But going through this class, I thought that I would sit in my tweed jacket with the patches on the shoulder, and I would just let money come in, for the Moby Dick book that I wrote. And this really changed everything. And it made me have to go back to the drawing board. But I think maybe it was Jim. One of you mentioned about, or I can't remember earlier on about, well, what do I have to have things ready, and what's the business that I'm going to do behind that. And this really addressed all of that. And now I have some ideas coming together. So I think it's about time, Nicole. I can't come to Arizona because I'm starting my new gig, but it addresses all of those things from the very beginning. And I did feel like Jill a lot in terms of, I don't think I can do this. I don't know if I have a story. But now I'm thinking about that, and it laid everything out. So now all of my thoughts that are scattered are falling into this framework that I got from this before I even moved on. So if I could be in Scottsdale, even though I had already been to this one, I would definitely do it. And it put me on a path where I was at. So I know where I'm going now, and I know who I'm going with. So it was awesome. And like I said, I can't stop telling people about it. So it's amazing.
And all right, so, in the workshop, it's an interactive workshop where you talk about it. It's not it's not just you sit there and listen and learn. You want to talk about what we did, how that felt?
Oh yeah, that's very true. It was very intensive, and we had opportunities to share. We had opportunities to share our ideas, to ask questions, because there were people there that had written books already. And I think what I learned, because I had a certain idea about publishing, but to learn what it means to have someone who can really be strategized no matter where you are in the process. So I learned a lot from the folks that were on that call, and I'm still communicating with them, and we've done some doing some strategy things. So it was really a network of people that were in a similar, maybe a little ahead. So like Jill, I take a lot of encouragement from that, and people that were in my space as well. So it was definitely more than just listening for a while. I didn't want to step away from my computer because I was afraid to miss what someone might drop in, ideas about that they added too. It's like, well, I've done this and done that, or I've got this business, or I'm thinking about doing that. So Nicole has so much in her team that she's got what she wants to say, but then someone will prompt something, and then it's so much better when you have a whole group of like-minded folks on the call, or for the week, actually. So.
Thank you. All right. There we go. All right. Remove from Spotlight Me. All right. Karen, what you got?
I have a question for Jill, and I'm going to try to figure out how to phrase this the right way. So one of the subjects I want to write about is somewhat in line with what you wrote about in your book. And it becomes sort of complex when you don't, like, to your point, want to touch too much on the political side of it. My experiences with family court, and there was a lot of trauma with my kids, and so just figuring out, what are those, what is the takeaway, without getting too much. I'm going to speak in therapist language here, reunification therapists and reunification camps and some of the things that people are trying to get rid of, but more figuring out, what is that takeaway? And I'm wondering, how long did it take you to reach that point in your process before you knew what that takeaway needed to be with your book in the different chapters? Because I know you said you have 3 different chapters and 3 different audiences that kind of came together in one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. During my writing process, I'm assuming is what you're asking, not during the entire process of deciding that I needed to do something with the topic.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew going in, which I think it's important that you all know, that there are some things that are just off limits, that, I was clear from the get-go that certain messages close ears. And if we close ears in our writing, we're missing the entire mission, right? So I knew that I wanted to get this topic or this book in front of as many people as possible. And to do that, I had to do the dance. And so it wasn't disingenuous, it's just the facts. So I knew that going in, and it sounds like, Karen, you have the same mindset. Like, you just know, like, I'm gonna have to weave through some territory of my story in order to get people to take it seriously. And those are just the facts. So I just learned to accept it. Once I just realized, like, that is what it is, my mission is to get this in front of as many people as possible, because it is valuable and there is an audience that needs it. You also have an audience that needs it. So you're going to have to walk around certain landmines so that the topic isn't canceled, or right, the message doesn't fall on deaf ears. So I knew that going in, and it did make it a lot easier. It was interesting because I felt like, and I can fully 100% honestly say this in front of Nicole, that I felt like it sometimes, I had to remind the team, or we were the team together. It's just it's a different approach. And I had to say, okay, well, you're 100% right. We probably should add that to the story. But the bigger mission is, I need to get this in front of as many people as possible. And if we add that to the story, it taints the story. So I was very almost resolute about it, but I just if you know that going in, and you already know that going in, you have to stay true to what your gut's telling you. And your gut's like, oh, I'm sure you have. I also worked in courts for a long time while I was in graduate school, and I got a lot of stories there, girl. So right, I'm sure you have a lot of stories to tell about that process. but I realized that I needed to write just the facts and make it interesting and leave all judgment off the page. The second a reader, I feel like Nicole and Kim and the whole crew would know much better, but I felt like the second I laid a judgment on the page, that was only going to work for 50% of my audience, and the other 50% was going to close it, turn it away, or say she's biased. And then I lose the reading audience. What's my goal? My goal is to get this in front of as many people as possible. So I'm sure you have some very purposeful, strong, maybe opinionated stories at times, but I had to find a way to tell those stories with taking all judgment out of the story. And that honestly was part of why I'm so proud of the book, because that makes it a little tricky. But I think I created a book that every single person can read, and it doesn't have any political slant at all. I mean, if you're reading it with political slant, or if you're reading it with negativity about one party versus the other, then I might have missed something.
Something.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. And do you feel like you left a message on the reader's shoulders, or do you feel like you left a solution, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I
Love it.
had to
Thank
leave a
you.
solution. I think that's what people are looking for. And I love that
Mhm.
you might have been the one to say it at the beginning of the hour. Whoever said it at the end of the hour, people want a solution.
That was-
So yeah, that was beautiful. That was,
When I heard it, I thought, wow, that was an epiphany. So it was good.
yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm also in Scottsdale. So
Oh, what the heck? Nicole,
Yep.
what's happening?
No. Well, a lot of you, our guests this week, also invited their audiences, so it's been fun. So
I love it.
Vanita, I think I cut you off earlier. You have a question? Anybody else have a question for Jill?
No, I just wanted to let Jill know that I'm thankful for what she's doing, and I was just praying and thanking the Lord for guarding your heart with all that you hear and go through, because you need to guard your heart so you don't get offended or all these things come into your heart. So I was just thanking the Lord for guarding your heart and for all that you do. And I'm in Payson. When you need to cool off, just come up to Payson.
Vanita, all that good energy is up in Payson, girl. That's where I'm going to start looking in that direction and feel it when I need it. But you said something just now that nobody has said to me yet. And I may be all business up top, but I'm going to tell you, I got on like gym shorts down here, and my legs now have goosebumps, because what you just said to me is I need God in my heart for whatever people are going to say and how this is going to be received. And I'm super clear that it's not all going to be rainbows and sunshine and people singing the praise of the book. I know what I'm walking into. So thank you for that reminder, and thank you for that blessing, because I will take it.
Yeah. You're headed into a
Here I go.
firestorm bravely. You really, I did the courage of and the timing. And here's the thing about her book and about a lot of your books and your missions. One incident and one comment can put her on the Today Show. Like, her book can be a national message with one more incident. And she's now prepared with the stories and all. She's had this time over the past year to really spend it. We're seeing again, don't compare my middle to your beginning, right? And Jill's now, she feels like she's, one of the people on this grid, but she's done the work for the past year to be ready. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Yeah.
Thank
and
you,
we
guys.
are,
Thank you for the
we're praying
community.
for you. Yeah.
I'll take it. We'll take
Yeah.
it. Be thinking of me.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh,
Thank
thanks.
you, Lord.
Yeah, and Ed Berry, I tagged you. I don't know if you saw that, but you've got a similar situation that's very political, left or right. Ed is an expert in weather and weather modification and all of those things, and write a book. A very big expert in that space, and so then which can also turn political, and so knowing how to navigate that and be able to have both sides read the book and sing praises for the content. And at the end of the day, what's incredible about Jill's book is you can read the whole book and never know where she stands on the political side. I still don't know where she stands. She's
not gonna tell you.
Not gonna tell you. Yeah. And you know what? And I applaud her for either side. There are great reasons for either side of the debate. And but that's not the point of the book. And so you handled it just so well.
Thank you.
You and your editors and the team. Well done.
Thank you for allowing me. Again, this to me speaks volumes about Niche and the team. Thank you for allowing me to drive that piece of it, because I was pretty adamant about that piece of it. And I appreciate you guys are the experts, but you gave me trust in that space. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Marilyn has a question, something about that.
I actually was just going to say, I really appreciate you, Jill, going on here and kind of talking through your journey and the evolving changes, because I feel like just in this 1 week where I've gone, and now to see you talk through what you went through in a year is so like, I want to sign you up, Nicole, right now. But I probably should write some note cards before I do that.
We'll just get your budget plan started. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad it
All
was
right.
helpful. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm glad I'm honest. I'm always almost honest to a flaw. Like, I'm going to tell you what it was like. So I'm glad that resonated with you. It's doable. So doable.
You know, and before all of you got on, we had just a quick call, and I was bringing Jill up to speed on what we're doing and where all this is leading and everything. And we talked about the numbers, just the sheer numbers, and the fact that there aren't 250 people on this call. And do you want to comment on that, Jill? Because you just said it,
I mean, what I said is, I'm so thankful that there aren't 250 people on this call, because to me, that would be a completely different room. You know, when I popped in on Monday for a little bit and there were, 35 people on the call, I was like, this is amazing. Because to me, that still feels VIP. That sends a whole different message of connection and, not knowing what the makeup of this week was going to look like. But I will tell you, that's the first thing I thought Monday when I logged in. I was like, this is a beautiful, beautiful space. And I've spoken with to people in big groups for 20 years. I've led support groups for 20 years. Some groups are 3 people, some groups are 35 people. Some groups, when I go in public speak, are 2 people, some are 250 people. But this is like the sweet spot. Because look at how connected you guys are. You're messaging on the side, you're high-fiving one another, you're getting one-on-one with the entire team. I think that I personally, not my business model, but I think that would be lost with 250 people on the call. I think this is beautiful.
Thanks. Yep. You know, a couple of years ago, I had an invitation to create a publishing company for Grant Cardone's company, right? So like not from Grant. I had somebody else who's like, let's set that up, and let's, you could be Grant Cardone and, create an exclusive brand for him. And I was like, well, that sounds really like rich. I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that. Like, this is where
I
we're
need
called to be.
to
You all
know.
are what
I need to
the
know.
ones we want to serve and keep this small touch. So thank you, Jill. So let's segue into the workshop just really quickly. You guys, most of you have been through the whole time. So I'll just say it again. The purpose of the workshop, I'll bring up the screen. So you just see it again, right here. The purpose of the workshop is to help you plan the perfect book and your business model so that you're writing the right book. So what we're going to do is go through 9 decisions together. You can read this for yourself. It's onepagebookplan.com. You don't need the word register at the end. It'll add it automatically when it gets done. But you can see the Scottsdale event details. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Where's the thing? It's all the way down here. Here we go. What we're going to do. We're going to have on Monday, the Monday before the workshop. So if you're doing the virtual one, we're talking about Monday in like 3 days. And then next Thursday and Friday, we meet from noon to 4 Eastern on Thursday and noon to 4 Eastern on Friday. That'll be part 1 and part 2. If you're with us in Scottsdale, it'll be Monday, I don't know, September something, 23rd. I don't know what it is. And then Friday, September 27th is where we'll do part 1 and part 2. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get clear on your mission, your ideal client, and which one of the 10 different publishing strategies is right for you. So if you were in the VIP, we went through the 10 different publishing strategies. That recording is still available to you. It was on Tuesday that I went through them in detail again. But we're going to figure out which one of the 10 different publishing strategies you should be pursuing for your book. And then you've got some homework to do on your mission and your dream client if you haven't already gotten that clarity this week. I think some of you have been getting some nice clarity on that already, but right, we just want you prepared with that kind of clarity. So when we get together, we're ready to run with the next 6 decisions for your book and your publishing strategy. And remember, I told you, if you were on the call earlier, there's a difference between having a book and having a publishing strategy, much like there's a difference between having a tax accountant who's doing your taxes and having a tax strategist who's helping you figure out how to manage your money moving forward to make the most of what you have and what you want to achieve with it. And so what we're talking about here is more than just a book. We are talking about your publishing strategy, and we're specifically targeting this for people who have or want businesses. So some of you have great books and you just need to go write them, right? And this will help you. I just want to be really clear. I don't want people who are just wanting to write a book and they have no desire for business. Like, please come and work with us. Just don't leave me a review that said, well, we spent too much time talking about business, because we're going to spend a lot of time talking about business, because the real impact is what you're going to do with the reader after they've read your book. And so that's what we're going to spend a lot of time on. So the first thing we're going to do is work on your offers and making sure your business is ready to scale. A lot of the people that I talk to do not have a scalable business model. Like I said with Jill, when we started this, it's like one day on the Today Show, and she could have a lot of people very interested in her and her message. How is she going to scale that? Right. And so just being able to have that kind of clarity and understanding, like your offers, your pricing, everything is probably not ideal for who you are becoming and what you're stepping into. And so we're going to work on that. Then we're going to work on the bold promise of your book. We're going to work on your framework, how you solve it. Marilyn's having crushing ideas about her framework here, and I'm so excited for you. I'm going to show you all kinds of different ways to build a framework, but this is your predictable, repeatable path to success. You've seen my framework, the success path. And so we've actually got several frameworks, and this is the secret to writing a great book and solving people's problems and then building offers. So we're going to do that in the thing and before lunch. And then I'll talk about the bonuses in just a minute, but then the workshop part 2, we're going to work on your book hook. We're going to start talking about what makes a great title. Then we're going to work on your influencers and allies like Jill. She's now picking up the phone and calling and texting people. But the people that she's calling and texting, we started that list a year ago so that she could build relationships and bridges, so that when she's now at this point, she's not a stranger. She's had time to prepare and serve them in ways as much as she could in order to be ready for that. And then we're also going to talk about the business and marketing assets you're going to want ready when you launch your book, so that it's not like you're not chasing the 8 ball. Like when Jill's book comes out, the other things are ready, right? And you want to have your other things ready too. And so talking about and planning them now before you start writing will give you time to delegate that, to think about that, to brew on that. I do want to be really clear at the end of this workshop. I'm going to come back to you. At the end of this workshop, you will have incredible clarity, a lot more clarity. You will not necessarily be 100% clear. How many of you recognize, like in a workshop in one day, you may have like a bunch of book ideas and you may go home and need to do some Googling and some searching, right? You may get ideas on how you want to create your offers, but you might want to come home and do a little more competitive research and decide, well, what would my pricing be? And what do my competitors do? Like now I see, like, maybe I'm in a whole different business than I thought I would. So I want to manage the expectation. You're going to work through 9 key decisions, but it's going to open up like big ideas, right? And so you're going to leave that workshop knowing though, like this book's going to work. This is going to work. I got some more work. And so then at the end of the workshop, some of you are going to be all right to keep working with us. You're going to be ready to keep working with us and you're going to want to. Others of you may have exactly what you need to go write the book on your own. I want to be really clear. My gift to you is being able to do this much with you. And then for some of you, it's going to be right that you're going to keep working with us. And others, I will sleep well at night that you know what book you need to write. And then if you go and you choose to self-publish all on your own, right? I'm so happy that I got to serve you, and I know you're going to call me, and some of you are going to call me for book 2, right? And so that's totally okay. Like if I know some people are really worried, like you've heard, we're not cheap. And Ed Rush says, you can't be cheap on the way to success. We aren't cheap. As you can see, this is a high touch process. We have 2 levels of packages for you. So we have some where you're in this workshop model in small groups, and there's huge power, as Brian mentioned, in being able to brainstorm with each other. And a lot of our authors, so we've got a group right now that's going together. There are 5 authors moving through this together. They love each other. They meet up we're on calls with them weekly. They're showing up together and they're checking in on each other and they're encouraging each other and giving each other ideas and networking. Like, it's so powerful in the small group model. And then there's some of you, that are earning, we generally say, you're earning a good you're in the multiple six figures. And at that point, like, you're buying speed and time, and you want to work with us one-on-one. Right. And so those are the two different models you'll learn more about when we're together in the workshop. But the first thing is, let's figure out where you are and what book you need to write. And so that's what we're going to focus on the one-page book plan workshop. And we hope you get to join us. Is that I'm here now for Q&A. Jill's got to move her daughter. Jill, thank you so much again for joining us. You're welcome to stay as long as you want, but everybody wave to Jill. Just thank her for.
Bye guys. Thank you. This was really good practice for me. This was good practice for me. So I owe you guys. Thank you. Thank
Good
you,
luck on your
Nicole.
lunch. You're welcome. We'll see you again.
You'll be hearing
soon.
from me. Bye guys. Take care. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.